The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
See the riding on the pavement. Young kids, they're growing up in basements. Online, a whole new generation. I'ma make mine, so you better go take it. Always they need a new replacement. Decentralized, can't contain it. We're changing lives, yeah, upgrading. Call it suicide of the older generation. What keeps you up at night?
All right, folks, we are back. A new year, a new us. This is the Whiskey Rebellion, brought to you by the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. And I am that Radulich. I am your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And over there is my hetero life mate and brother from another mother. You might know him as Chesty Starcher, the disapproving dad, but we all call him Juicy J. Jesse Starcher. How do you do, sir?
Mark Radulich, my goodness, it's a new year, buddy. Time to celebrate. Get ready for 2023, January 5th. Unbelievable, man. You ready?
It's my daughter's birthday today. She turned the big 1-2.
No.
1-2.
1-2. Check 1-2.
That's right.
That's awesome, dude.
Yep, she microphone checked.
Microphone check, microphone checker.
Yep,
that's great, man.
Yeah, she's 12 years old. It does not seem like that long ago we were bringing her home from the hospital.
Yeah,
back
dude.
in the old 2011.
Man,
but here we are in the year of our Lord, 2023, and she's 12 years old. She's halfway through the 6th grade.
Did you guys do anything to celebrate today? Or I know it's school day, so I didn't know if.
Well, no, school's still out, but
wow,
we're doing something with her over the weekend. We got some. So my wife and I were supposed to have a date night this Saturday. We were going to do a rum distillery tour because we're drunks. And then we were going to go to this like circus acrobat nighttime club show called Sidium. And I guess they're doing something with the theater because I just like found out today that I had a refund for the tickets. So
shit,
we're doing that again in a month. But now like that whole day, we don't have plans. So my wife was like, why don't we do something special as a family for Lily's birthday? And then Sunday after I scare the shit out of him and take him to go see Megan. Because it's PG-13. You're allowed to take your kids. You're allowed to take your 12-year-old daughter to a PG-13 movie.
You can do that. You can do that.
That's right. There's no boobies.
It's PG-13.
Honestly, that's really the only rating that matters. Boobies, no boobies.
Yeah, right, dude. Trust me. I know. I go to the Parents Guide most of the time. We watched Violent Night a couple of nights ago. It was me and the whole family.
Oh, yeah. That was family entertainment, man. Gather around the hearth. Yeah, gather around, children, and watch a Santa hit people with a hammer.
Oh yeah. But we went in there. I went to the Parents Guide, and immediately it's like sexual. Okay, no nudity.
Right.
All right. Okay. 20 instances of violence and gore. That's okay. That's all fine. Right with it. That's fine.
We Puritan Americans are perfectly fine with gore and violence, but show us a bare female tit, and that's it. Just pull your eyes out.
Boy.
There was a discussion about Bullet Train a couple of months back. It was rated R, but both my kids have seen the trailer for it, and you know what, Japan files they are. So, they like their animes and their mangas and whatnot. So, like, we have to go see Bullet Train. It's in Tokyo. And I was like, let me see what it's rated. What's rated R? I don't know about that. Literally, just like you, like, boobs or no boobs?
All right.
No boobs, we're good.
Great movie.
It's on my top 10 for the year, which we talked about. 2 different shows. Anyway, so after I take him to go see Megan, then we're gonna take my daughter out for her big birthday dinner. Awesome. What'd you do for New Year's?
Oh, dude, I went to bed at 11:30. That's how exciting I am.
You're a whole fucking man.
My whole family is like waiting for the ball to drop. And I'm like, I am going to bed, guys. I am so sorry. And I shit you not, my son comes into the bedroom. I'm 15, 20 minutes into sleep. And he's like, Happy New Year, Dad. I'm like, I'm sleeping. Go on to sleep.
So I talked about this on the Movies That Don't Suck podcast and Some That Do, which was recorded tonight as we're recording this, which will be out, I guess, whenever you're listening to this sometime next week-ish. And I talked about how I've adopted a family. I adopted a family of 3, 2 adults, 1 child. I'm now raising 6 individuals in this house. I am parenting 3 adults and 3 children. And so I forgot why I was. Oh, so I come home from work 12 hours on New Year's Eve, came home, and it was decided by committee amongst the 6 children the 6 people that I'm parenting, we're gonna have a quiet night. Santa had a violent night. I had a quiet night. And there's always, with 7 people living in a 1,200 square foot house tend to be a little on top of each other at times. And that's why there was 8 of us, because one of them had their son who lives elsewhere staying with us, and they're like, come in the living room, be a part of the family, do what we're doing. My wife and her partner were watching the SEC. What was it? The Bulldogs. Yeah. And I'm like, so they're watching football, and people are all like engaged and doing stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if you've ever had this moment where you're like, you want to be with your family, but you don't. Like, you don't want to do what they're doing, but you don't know not necessarily isolate yourself.
Sure.
So I was literally like, I spent my New Year's sitting on the couch, sitting with my family, touching, being affectionate, being present, earphones on, like these cans, Jesse Starcher. I had my cans on. They're not even earphones at this point. They are disassociation tools. Okay. I was in another universe. These had sort of a Star Trek effect where my body was there, but my mind was elsewhere.
Okay. All right. Well, what do you have going through them? I got to know that at least.
I was watching some of my like Midnight's Edge and Critical Drinker videos, and then
okay, all right.
I started watching.
What I would have loved for you to have said is just said I couldn't take it. I didn't have anything going, but I had the cans on because I just didn't want to hear myself deaf.
Yeah, silence. That's what I heard.
There we go.
The deafening silence. Now, do you remember for like the 5 minutes that everyone was talking about the 30 for 30 on Ric Flair?
Oh yeah. I actually was about to watch it again last night. Yeah,
I was the only person on earth who didn't watch it at the time. So I watched that because that came up on my ESPN Plus feed. Yeah. And then here's a funny story. So one of the people that I've adopted, she indulges in the marijuana, and she uses it for pain. And she was out of the marijuana, and she waited until 10 minutes to midnight. Iron Maiden waits till 2 minutes to midnight. She waited until 10.
She waited until 10 minutes to midnight to let everybody know that she was out.
Yeah. And that she needed her partner to go get her some more. It was well timed. This was like when I brought them to go see Ginger and POD, and we have an hour to get there, and it's an hour away. And she's like, great, can we stop at the smoke shop? And we're like, do you not know how time works? Time and distance.
Yeah.
Finite variables.
Yeah. 10 to 12. I mean, I know who's selling at that point, probably here in my town, but
in her defense, the place that she told us to get it from was only 2 minutes down the road. If it had been open, we'd have been there and back.
Yeah.
This excursion that involved, a dwarf barbarian and a human bard and an elf archer, this D&D quest that we went on took us three stops and about 5 miles or so before we finally found the bounty we were looking for and brought it back home to heal her aching wounds.
Sometimes it's necessary.
Needless to say, we did not get back in time for smooches at midnight.
Well.
You didn't get smooches at midnight either. You were kissing your pillow.
Oh, you dang right I was. Man,
you were like, oh, Callie Thorne.
Oh my God. Sweet dreams of Callie Thorne. I think at about 11, I'm down here at the computer and I'm like, I just got to make it to 12. That's all I need to do. And then walk upstairs and
Jesse's
be
like
there.
own Iron Man match.
I can walk upstairs and everybody be like, Happy New Year. And I'm like, I'm out. But no, I couldn't even do that. 11:30 rolls around. I'm like, I cannot do this. Mindy, I am going to bed. She's like, okay. So I kind of, the next morning I wake up and I'm like, shit, I don't know how many more New Year's Eve / days that I have with my kids. I should have stayed up. I should have made that half hour try and good old college try and stuck it out, but just didn't do it. I had to go to bed, man.
I could have gone to a sexy play party.
Sexy play party.
I could have gone to a sexy play party.
What? So what is that like? When you say play, I think of like theater. So is that what you're talking about?
Theater, all right.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that kind of play.
I got you.
So, but no one was up for it. Get it? Get it? Yeah.
I think we've done that at least the last 2 consecutive shows.
Yeah, no matter what.
That we've been on.
Can we talk about The Wire for just
Let's
a
talk
moment?
about The Wire.
I can't wait till we do the full widened breadth of every show that's ever been on HBO and we get to Oz. And we're like, let's talk about Oz. Huh? You want to know what I always wondered?
Oh no.
Speaking of bleached assholes, let's talk about our top story tonight on the Whiskey Rebellion.
Top story.
And don't know where Jeff is tonight. Don't know where Rob is. I didn't baby everybody and remind them all day long that we were doing this.
Did you expect us to be adults here and actually pay attention to this?
No, I don't know why I expect anyone to be adults. Jesse, I am a daddy dom.
That's what I understand. We've done a test.
I have done a test. Yes, 2 of them at the very least.
Confirmed,
By the way,
sir.
hang on 1 second. Hey, there's another bit that I want you to do, but I need my wife to yell across the house and explain the bit to me. So, what is it that? Hey, unnamed wife of unknown family. I don't know. Trying to protect your identity. Did you just call you by your name?
Yeah.
Okay, Voldemort.
Yeah.
What is the thing you took that you sent me that I now want to subject Jesse to?
Oh, it's the BDSM limits list.
Where do I find this?
Limitless?
Yeah, limitless. Fucking.
Oh my goodness. Like, where are you going to draw the line?
Yeah.
What are you like? Yes, let's go. No, absolutely not.
Okay. So maybe not the next show because Andrew Graham will be there. I don't want to run him off.
Oh boy. Welcome to the show, Andrew. Let's test time.
But a show in the near future, we are gonna get you to we're gonna subject you to the BDSM limit test.
I cannot wait.
What is it?
It's a list.
Things that people could be interested in BDSM and kink.
Okay.
And are you interested in it or not?
So I have to send this to him ahead of time.
Simple yes, no, check mark list.
It's like a list that 2 partners would use with each other to negotiate.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. So you hand your partner the list, they hand you the list, and you're looking them all over.
Yeah, I'm into 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Shitting on me. Yeah, 10. Right. That. Okay. Yeah, I want to know. I want to know. The world wants to know, Jesse, your BDSM limits. Jesse, 1 to 10, you're interested in anal fisting. Yes.
I'll take a 0. Please.
He says 10.
Okay, see how this is going to go. Cannot wait to do that list.
Okay, so yes, on a future show, we are absolutely going to get you to list out using this tool your BDSM limits. But before that,
all right,
our top story, as I was saying before, now that I've completely derailed the podcast, I didn't know what I wanted to talk about this year. And I was looking for lists, looking for our fun articles to do. And I'm on StreamYard. And I found this article, if it ever shares, the top 10 weirdest local news stories of 2022. There it is.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I thought we'd have. So I haven't even looked at this. I saw the headline and I was like, we need to talk about this. Let's see.
Of 2022.
Just how weird has the news been in 2022? Check any news site any time of the day in 2022. You'll be smacked in the face with images of war, crime, civil unrest, climate catastrophe, and economic strife. But every now and again, there is a ray of light in the darkness. Sometimes it's an interesting object stuck up a nose.
I've done that before. I've done that.
Absolutely. Other times, it's a searing op-ed about a sausage roll. Most of the time, most of the time, it's a cat on public transport. Let's take a moment, you and I, Jesse, to talk about our BDSM limits and celebrate.
That's not on
2022's strangest news stories. The odd stuffs, the side swipes, the stories that piqued our curiosity and threw a bit of bizarro among the badness.
Okay. All right, then.
Number 1, sandwich scam. Smoker finds pouch tobacco replaced with bread.
Pouch tobacco replaced with bread. Okay, read this. Read this to me. I'm trying to even make sense of the headline.
Yeah, I feel like those were English words, but not in an English sentence.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine this, but all right, what do we got going on here?
This story from March of 2022 detailed the experiences of an Auckland woman who spent $75 on a pouch of Port Royal, only to find that it was filled with a moldy old sandwich.
Ew. Oh my goodness. $75. What is
for a
Port
moldy
Royal?
sandwich?
Pouch tobacco?
Yeah.
Is this the stuff that you like? Is this stuff you put in your jaw, or is this stuff?
I guess it's like what's it called? Dip.
You put it, the only thing I could think of is like fucking red. Is it Red Man?
Something like
that. Oh my goodness,
yeah.
I cannot remember. But yeah, it was like you pull out the. It looks like Big League Chew, except that's not. Yeah. That's what it's based off of.
Yeah, it makes you like spit mud, and it's gross.
Peanut butter sandwich in place of my tobacco. That's hilarious. Oh wow!
New World didn't believe her story, so she took her complaint straight to British American Tobacco. I was like, "Look, Mac, you're not going to believe me, and it sounds ridiculous, but there was a peanut butter sandwich in my tobacco." She told the stuff, and in the saddest, most woebegone voice, he said, "Sophie, I do believe you. This is an ongoing problem."
What? Oh my gosh.
Turns out the old sandwich switcheroo is a prolific scam across the world. And we can only hope to have more awareness around bread-based bamboozlement in 2023. Oh, that's
Who
funny.
is doing the switching?
You know, Jesse,
that's got to be an inside job, right?
The fat cats have it all over us. You know what I mean? It is hard. It is hard as a white man to get along in this world when, the fat cats of industry have you over a barrel. Sometimes you got to revolt. Sometimes you got to rebel. And the only way to do so is to put a sandwich where tobacco once was.
Sure. I mean, there are lengths that I would go to try and prevent people from getting cancer from smokeless tobacco.
Sure.
Peanut butter sandwiches was not on my list.
Oh, gourd. Monster potato, not actually a spud.
What the hell is that then?
I don't know, but I know I put one of those in the toilet before we recorded tonight. Who doggy. Doug the Potato was a symbol of hope for America Chavez after a particularly shitty year. The tank of a tuber set the country and soon the world abuzz with his gargantuan girth. The author of this piece had way too much fun with this.
Yeah, they did.
Could humbled old New Zealand have just unearthed the biggest potato in history? Alas, celebrity is a mask that eats into the face, and it was only a matter of time before things turned sour. In March, it was revealed the extensive DNA testing done on Doug found him to not be a potato at all, but a variation of a gourd.
Oh, ew.
It's been a real roller coaster of potato-rama, said Doug's owner, Colin. We hopped on the roller coaster, eyes wide open, and enjoyed the ride, and this was the real twist. We were all there with you, Colin. We were all there with you.
Yeah, sure. I had no idea this existed.
No.
A gourd. Okay.
It's really bizarre. All right. Christchurch boy discovers giant earthworm in the backyard.
Okay.
In September, 9-year-old Barnaby Domigan introduced the world to Dead Fred, a 1 meter long earthworm that he found in his back garden in Christchurch, which is
That's
the name of my new
huge.
band, by the way.
Oh, okay. All right. Beautiful.
He told Checkpoint that it was a slimy, squishy, and stuff like that, and that he thought of it like an amazing discovery that I could not believe my eyes. Neither could we. After slamming the big worm in live updates, the spinoff was forced to apologize to Dead Fred after the biodiversity community took umbrage at our description of him as nightmare fuel and a dirty earth snake and a hell monster.
That is the biodiversity community.
Yes,
Okay.
they're
All
on
right.
Twitter, and
Now
they're very
shit.
mad.
Apparently. All right, then.
These are some odd stories. Like,
That is very strange.
these can't be the weirdest stories, but these are definitely odd.
Definitely.
Oh, I don't like where this is going. The enduring mystery of the Hobsonville Point ham. I know it's gauche
Ew.
to include one's own work in a list, but I managed to write 3,500 words on International Women's Day about an imported $2,400 ham that was found on a sleepy suburban street in Hobsonville Point. 9 months later, I am still no closer to the truth, but I did get an update from Raph, who found the ham while out walking his dog. We kept the ham for maybe a month or so before throwing a homemade pizza dinner at our place, where we made an honest attempt of getting rid of most of it. We never found out who bought it or why it was disposed of. It will forever remain a mystery.
Okay. So I've got a couple questions here.
Yeah.
An imported $2,400 ham?
That is a fancy pig.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, I assume that's why we have this. Oh, okay, I have, no idea. I mean, no clue. All right, so let me read this one. Bull has legend status after surviving 80-kilometer trip downriver, including the Buller River. Come on, I don't understand. Come on, the Buller River. Bull has okay, so he went down 80 kilometers. That's a pretty long stretch of land or stretch of distance there. So I guess it floated on down a river of some sort. Crazy.
I guess.
All right.
All righty. Clark's catch. Prime Minister partner hangs with funny feline in Tonga. There have been so many, Jesse Starcher. Terrific cat stories out there that it's hard to choose just one.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yep. The 2022 crime wave appeared to extend to the feline community, as Stuff reported in May that kleptomaniac cats in Tauranga were found to be working together in a cat gang, the most vicious gangs of all, to steal.
That's what Cats is about, right? Like the movie Cats is strictly about these cat gangs.
Yeah, it was originally called the Cats of New York. Socks the Butcher, you know him. It's played by Daniel Meow Lewis.
I think this needs to happen now. This just came out and it needs to happen.
Let me listen. Melissa knows people who have money. Can we produce a movie that is Gangs of New York, but just cats?
Yes.
That might actually do well.
It might. I mean, considering
Brilliant.
what's in the movies these days, I can't see how that would be any less ridiculous. Anyway, the cat gang to steal socks, underwear, and mops. Further south, ODT had a stunning piece on a mafioso mob boss, Bowie, known as the Gangsta Cat of Lawrence.
Okay. All right. Well, I bet you he just sits in one spot and eyeballs everybody, and you would not want to fuck with him.
Big crown on his head.
Oh, yeah.
But the greatest cat.
It's like the fucking picture of Biggie Smalls.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. Kitty, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your now just hypnotize me.
Oh, that was not good.
Your flashy ways.
Oh, wow.
Who shot you? Meow.
He's a cat flushing the toilet.
He is a cat flushing the toilet. But the greatest cat news came from the first man himself, who shared captivating footage of a cat called Charcoal. That's racist. Who simply adores being buried up to his neck in sand. That's the most random thing I've seen, and I've seen some things. One commenter wrote it at the time.
That is strange. Yeah.
Rare gravel maggot found on remote West Coast beach. Gravel maggot greater than goblin mode.
I have no idea what's going on here. I am so out of touch with whatever references they're making here. I have no clue.
Yeah.
Okay.
This article's a bit up its own ass from the spinoff.co.New Zealand. In May, this extremely rare species.
That might be why I have no idea. This is news from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Is that all this is? Well, fuck me.
Yeah,
right.
I just let it go with the obscure of the obscure tonight.
Thanks. Thank you.
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Look, this was a 30-second Google search. What do you want from me? At least I showed up on time.
I was here at 10, sir. I was here at 10.
In May, this extremely rare species of sea slug washed up on the West Coast, and our lives were never quite the same. Named Smeagol Hilaris. If we have another child,
Oh boy.
Smeagol Hilaris Radulich.
Oh yeah.
After the pallid Lord of the Rings character, everyone had an opinion on Smeagol. Some thought he looked like Guilan chocolate. Others thought he looked like Coke bottle lolly with the sugar granules sucked off. Whatever he looks like, he is our precious, and he lives in all of us.
I'd like a picture. That is not a picture?
That's a baby with a mask on.
That's what's coming up next. I was like, what? I need a picture of this maggot. All right, go ahead.
All right. The masked Air New Zealand baby is the hero we need.
Okay.
It's been a great year for masks, has it? And not just because Mikey Havoc revealed on The Masked Singer that he has a collection of over 100 masks. In July, a masked baby on Air New Zealand flight went viral on social media for being both very cute and very mysterious. Gotham has Batman, Metropolis has Superman. Now New Zealand has The Mask, wrote Stuart Soman Lund on his quest to unmask the masked baby. First of all, don't touch a child. Okay, I mean, I think we can all agree nobody should touch a child at all.
True.
Ever.
That's true.
I may never know for sure, but I do know that in these confusing orange light, Omicron-infused times, this is the hero New Zealand deserves, even if it's not the one we need right now. I don't feel like I understand New Zealand humor.
You chose local news stories from New Zealand.
I chose local news stories. I didn't realize it was from New Zealand.
They're all New Zealand local news stories, dude. Oh, wow. This is great. I'm getting I don't know, about 50 to 60% of the references, so that's all right.
I think as an ongoing thing here on the Whiskey Rebellion, we should always do one bit that completely dies. This was fucking
right at the beginning.
Zombie bit that we did. Yeah, right at the beginning. So make sure we kill the crowd early. Like an AEW match. Why does Erin Simpson put a raw egg in a sock in her baby's crib? It feels like that's the beginning to a riddle. Humans have been talking for tens of thousands of years, but only now has this combination of words been put together in this order. In November, Stuff reported that influencer, former television host, and Hobsonville ham informant Erin Simpson has been dangling a raw egg in a sock in the corner of her son's crib to ease his teething pain. I'm less interested in the TikTok pseudoscience here and more concerned with the fact that this is not the first time Erin Simpson has made headlines for challenging egg-based behavior. Yeah, exactly.
A raw egg in a sock in a baby's crib doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I honestly thought that where this was going was like, locking a sock and like that's how they were making the baby sleep.
Oh.
Just
that's sad.
Don't
touch a child, but hit them with a lock in a sock.
Don't slock a child. That's my motto. Don't slock a child.
You just slocked a child. You just said that's all right.
In New Zealand, I can't look.
Not in the United States. Not in the States.
In the United States, I am against slocking children, but I'm not going to tell New Zealand how to behave. It's a whole other culture. Be culturally sensitive, Jesse Starcher.
I know. I apologize, man. Our show is going to be huge in New Zealand. Watch the numbers.
Where slocking children is popular.
Yeah, we're getting so much hate mail.
And number 10, centuries-old frozen Charlotte dolls unearthed in archaeological dig. Fuck.
I'm going to Google right now, but go ahead.
In June, archaeologists, oh God,
Say that again?
archaeologists, shut up.
Oh, there you go.
You can't breathe. Leave me alone, you bully. Dug up a bunch of old objects in Christchurch's CBD. Including a chamber pot, glass bottles, and a gaggle of scary dollies called Frozen Charlottes.
Yes, they are.
These girlies from the late 1800s were inspired by a creepy poem called A Corpse Going to a Ball. Okay.
Inspired?
About a young woman who froze to death on her way to a New Year's Eve ball. That poem inspired a folk ballad named Fair Charlotte, which then inspired millions of corpse dollies named Frozen Charlotte, which eventually ended up here in modern day Anaconda, where we don't need any more bad things. I've said it once, I'll say it again, put them back. Okay, so now we've learned a lot about New Zealand culture here on the Whiskey Rebellion, which is really what we always intend to do.
That's exactly what we intended to do. I just looked up Frozen Charlotte dolls, and they are they're not the they're creepy. I'll tell you that much. Here, I'll present my screen. Just take a look. Take a little look-see.
Okay.
And there you go. There's some. Do you have like any type of phobia about dolls or anything like that?
I remember like the clown doll in Poltergeist. Just the clown doll in Poltergeist. Like those scenes were pretty creepy, but I didn't have dolls in my house. I was a boy in the 80s. However, my grandmother, my old Italian grandmother, had 3 and 4 foot high dolls. Like they weren't American Girl. The American Girl didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
But do you know what I'm talking about, Melissa? Like what they might have been called? They almost like same height as real children, like life size, like dolls that people might have had back in the 70s or 80s. But like their eyes blinked, like they actually had like blinking eyelids. Creepy as shit. But I didn't sleep at my grandmother's, or they weren't in a place where I would have been sleeping. So, they weren't there to sort of influence or prey upon my innate fears or anything like that.
Right. I specifically remember a time going over to my dad's. I was probably like 6 or 7. I was pretty young, and I was going to sleep in my room there at dad's, and it was also, I was rooming with my stepsister, who was about 3 or 4 years younger than I was, and her mom like littered the room with clowns and dolls. And I know at one point I tried to go to sleep and I couldn't, and I turned over and it was just like out of a nightmare. I swear one was like turning its head and looking at me and making some type of gestures. Now, didn't scar me for life, but I remember that clear as day, like trying to go to sleep and thinking these dolls were looking at me.
No,
Freaky.
Jesse, remember this? Unicorn! That scared the shit out of me.
Oh, yeah.
You're just a hobbit.
Boy, that was where I think that was where the whole narwhal thing started for me.
Why was everything Rankin and Bass horrifying?
I don't know.
Like, let's make cartoons for children. Could we make them as ugly as possible? Like, what was the thought here?
It was frightening.
Let's frightening. Everybody know.
Check out the archive, because as a matter of fact, Justin Thomas was over for the holidays and played a little bit of that exact podcast where we did the alternative commentary. Yeah,
that's on the old feed. That's not on this feed. I gotta republish it one of these days.
It's scary stuff. Scary stuff.
Oh, watch me pee my pants live on a podcast. Why did Rankin and Bass animate everybody like their faces were a pile of dirty laundry? Why? What the hell? All right. So, Jesse, you're the co-host of Tripped Up Trivia, which is a game.
Yeah, yes, it is.
That we play with ourselves on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. You and Alexis, you like to play with yourselves and others. That's my understanding. Yes?
And fondle junk. all day long.
Hang on, what did you say over there?
Racing.
Correct. Anywho, so when you and Alexis are playing with each other and others in your trivia game, are you into board games at all? Like, do you play the old Risk or Life or Boggle or Yahtzee or Scrabble or anything like that?
Yeah, we as a family played a lot of board games. I would say at least when Kira was younger and Caleb was younger, but I mean, I will tell you that as the kids became competitive, boy, did it get loud and not fun.
Can I tell you the dick move my dad pulled on Christmas Eve?
Let me hear it.
So I grew up in board game culture as well. I grew up playing Monopoly and Life and Scrabble, and we played as a family. I remember the few fond memories I have of my extended family going to said grandmother's house with the creepy dolls were the big games of Uno that we played with my grandparents, my aunt, my cousins, my parents. We would play these huge games of Uno, and it was like super competitive, and we had a lot of fun with it. We would play Scrabble, and my wife did some of the Christmas shopping with one of the adults that I adopted, and they went out. And my wife calls me. She was like, "What would your father prefer? A classic Scrabble, or what was the other one?
Monopoly.
Or Monopoly?" And I'm like, "Oh, I have fond memories of playing Scrabble with my dad in Upwards. You remember Upwards?
Upwards. I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Scrabble, but you can stack letters.
Right.
So I remember playing these games with my dad and having really fond memories of it, and not so much Monopoly. That came later, and that was more me and my friends. But I remember family Scrabble. So I was like, oh, I bet he'll appreciate the Scrabble set. So we get it for him. And my dad goes, what do I want to need this for? I already got Scrabble.
Ooh.
And, yeah. Merry Christmas.
Mm.
And then what made
that's like something an 8-year-old would say.
Yeah, and then he was like, I have this other game that's much better, and it's like 100 years old. It's like the 70s. And he like needed to show it to everybody. Then my wife wondered why I walked out of the room and and went to go read a comic book. I could not stand to be around my family any longer.
Oh man.
As I got older, my friends and I, like, we would play hours, like, especially around the time of the very like specific oriented themed Monopoly sets. You're like, there's millions of them now.
Yeah.
You know, we had like Lord of the Rings Monopoly, we had Star Wars Monopoly, and we would play them for hours, my friends and I, and it was great. I had a line, and I know I'm going to say this soon. You're going to be really surprised. You're going to be like, oh, that doesn't seem like Mark's character at all. I would make somebody a deal to trade property, and they would say no, and I'm like, I'm going to make you the same deal at another turn, and this is only going to get worse for you.
Oh,
every time you deny me, this only gets worse for you. My wife is telling me that I'm number one right now. Anyway,
I'm sure she is.
So, yeah, I was fun to play games with. Anyway, we played Life. When I was in college, my friend Jupak and Yo Chuck, where are you? We played Risk, and we would start at like 10 o'clock at night and go to 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, the same game. It was so funny because like we would play Risk, and you would get down to like, you would just like have every piece of property. Like you built up from like, you know, Papua New Guinea and just fucking took over all of Asia. You like had them reduced down to fucking Brazil. That's it. It was the only property that was left. And they would roll and get a bonus and fucking suddenly have and win one battle. They'd only have to win one and just crush your entire army and build back up again. The game would go for another 6 hours.
Oh yeah. Gosh, man. I played Risk once in college.
And you're still playing, right?
I hated it. We played it was the first time I ever played. And the game we started like, just like you said, start late at night for some stupid ass reason. And I'm walking back to my dorm at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning going, why did I do this?
You missed graduation.
I'm never doing, missed the finals. I lost that game at Risk too. I hated that game, man. Hated it.
Well, I bring this all up because this is our feature story of the evening. There's an article here from Not New Zealand. It's the otherwise known as the Washington Post. And the article is called Why Board Games Are Quickly Regaining Popularity. The headline is, we're in a golden age of board games and it might be here to stay. And I was interested in this story because, I've talked openly about, being part of the subset of the LGBTQI community, specifically the polyamory community. And I can't tell you how popular board game night is in this community.
Really?
Like, you would think it's like the sexy orgies, right? You would think it was the sexy play parties, but you know what polyamory people like more than a good fucking? Board games, apparently.
Board games.
What was that? Yeah, board games, Dungeons and Dragons, and fucking Nintendo Switch.
There's dungeons definitely involved in there too.
There are definitely dungeons involved in the polyamory committee, but what I'm trying to tell you, sir, you kinky bastard, you know about your limits. Tell me about your limits, Jesse.
I will. Give us a couple shows. Don't do that. No.
I'm gonna miss piggy you.
Oh no.
I'm gonna grab your taint from the inside. I'm totally using that later. Hey, Voldemort, I want to grab your taint from the inside. My wife is going to sketch now and think about her life choices. Anyway, aren't you glad you sat outside with me? She says yes.
No.
She says consensual, non-consensual. Anyway, my point is that, like, within this possibly arrested, maturity development community is this desire to, like, I've been to a board game night, like just one, but I went to my friend's party and like we played like some pretty cool games, like actually like fairly intellectual games. Like I've seen like entire stores dedicated to stuff beyond the known like typical traditional board games, like Monopoly,
right.
Life, Risk, and all that. In fact, we got one for my son. It was like Neanderthal poetry or something like that, and it was just like wordplay games and shit. It was a little something like charade, but it involved like an inflatable stick that you hit people with, which was why we bought it for him. Okay. I think every boy this year got the throwing burrito game.
I heard about that, yeah.
But yeah, I over the course of the past year, I became much more aware of like adults in their 30s and 40s really love getting together and playing board games. And so then I saw this article from these, Washington Post, former newspaper, about how we're in a golden age of board games, and I kind of wanted to share it with you and see what you thought.
Okay.
Our story takes place in New Zealand. No, as he quarantined during the height of the pandemic with his wife at home, Frederick MD Jared Bryan would look longingly at one of the many shelves of card and tabletop games. What are you laughing at?
It's Frederick. He's in Frederick, Maryland, Mark. It is not Frederick MD Jared Bryan.
Don't correct me. Just go with it.
All right, sir.
Oops. Take two.
Frederick MD. Wow. He's a doctor. All right, continue.
You're a bully. You should have just let it go. As he quarantined during the height of the pandemic with his wife at home in Frederick, Maryland, you motherfucker, Jared Bryan would look longingly at one of the many shelves of card and tabletop games as he has displayed in his home. But instead of finding joy as he admired the beautiful boxes, recalling memories from his many game nights, he found sorrow.
Oh, that's sad.
And sorrow. In the year of our Lord, 2021, it was kind of really sad looking at these games that weren't getting played, said Bryan, 37. Yep, there's nothing more depressing than not having your game played with, Jesse. I mean, we should all have our games played with, right?
I am the game.
Yeah. Don't you think, Melissa, you know, we should all have our game played with?
Yes. Often.
That's right. A software engineer who got into board games in college. Now I'm kind of having the opposite feeling. I'm really looking forward to being able to play them again. Bryan missed the shared experience and the ability to push aside everything going on in his life and just have fun with his friends. And he's not alone. Those feelings of community and gaiety are among the many catalysts driving card and tabletop games into a golden age not seen since the 80s, Jesse Starcher.
Wow.
Industry experts say, yeah. And we can stop there for a second and just think about that. When does the Atari come out? It has to be in the 80s when I'm growing up, right? And you're not that much younger than me.
I think it's late 70s, early 80s, something like
Right.
that. Yeah, you're right.
So many of us, middle class, upper middle class people had a video game system of some description in our house. It was probably an Atari. What comes after the Atari? Like the first Nintendo, right?
Right, 85 85, I think in the US, but yeah, it was right around Nintendo hits. It's a huge impact on the video gaming industry.
Right. And then, they were, because there's just like VHS had beta, there's always like the weaker competitor that's just trying to find its place in the market space. It was ColecoVision.
ColecoVision and television,
yeah,
things of that nature. Yep.
So, and then finally, with the rise of Nintendo, and then shortly after that, Sega, and then shortly after those, the PlayStation. Between 1980 and 1995, you see the rise in video game culture.
Right.
Certainly, I mean, you guys talked about this on the Screamy Boy podcast. You have the rise of the arcade. You have your pinball machines first, and then your sort of, pixelated Atari-ish games. And then those evolved over time. And soon the arcade culture became huge for a period there. You worked in an arcade. I remember, people peeing on the games or whatever it was you talked about.
Yeah, I got some stories.
They were sticky. They were not wet necessarily.
Shitting on the floor. I had a great.
I fucking remember this shitting on the store story.
Oh boy.
In Frederick MD. Anyway. But you have to figure, as video games become more popular, as the youth culture adopts them and makes it their own, they move away from board games.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much mental arrested development there is in the adults of that era. I don't know how many adults, who are going to work and taking care of their families. I don't know how many of them in the mid to late 80s, early 90s, who are middle-aged at that time, are still playing board games.
Right.
So I would imagine the board game culture kind of falls apart there as video games go on the rise, don't you think?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You only have so much time to divide up amongst your entertainment.
Right.
If you're sitting at home and you have access to a PC, PC gaming is huge. Civilization was a time suck. If you're
my God, I lost entire weekends to Civilization.
Right, dude. Same thing with World of Warcraft. These
I almost lost a marriage to World of Warcraft.
I
can't take you on a date. I have to raid.
Right. And the complexities of those games to play with other people, it's it makes it that much more entertaining. So what's the point of sitting around playing Monopoly? I played that 20 times at my grandma's. I'd rather sit on my PC and play something else,
Right. I'd rather play Final Fantasy 7 and fucking scream into the will, I've lost my chocobo.
Right, exactly. So yeah, there's definitely a gap at some point where people were just like, this is way more entertaining. This is something that I can do really easily and enjoy with other people also. Yeah. And they're not sitting around playing board games. It substituted board games for a while because that's kind of all we had, for the longest time. You had cards and then you develop board games.
Hey, my dad still has them. He literally still has games from the 70s.
Man, they don't even need to make any more games from what, apparently, according to him, just
He
stop at Scrabble. He's got the greatest Scrabble game ever.
Exactly. It is undeniable they are gaining popularity fast as Elon Lee, the creator of popular card game Exploding Kittens.
Oh
yeah. So
my wife just yelled out, "We have that."
You just got it.
Let me stop real quick and say that now with it making a resurgence is interesting because there are still ways of playing computer games, PC games, video games, video game systems. That's still all out there. So these things making a comeback is pretty interesting. But I will say that, actually that's starting to happen here at my house. I mentioned how I go and play Dragon Age. It's been about a year, a little bit more than a year now. Every once a month, it's like a Saturday every month. And
It's instead of Asylum Comics.
No, it's related. We'll put it that way. But I go over to his house and we sit down.
Mm-hmm.
He has a gaming table strictly for a tabletop gaming, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But on his back wall, the guy that holds, the DM, it's nothing but board games that are, it's not your traditional Monopoly. These are games like Exploding Kittens.
Right.
My daughter got a game from, I think she went shopping. Anyway, it's called Here to Slay. And she come home, sat down, and said, "You ought to play this with me, Dad." And I'm looking it over. I'm like, "This is interesting." Tabletop card game, and she loves it. Her friends love it. So, yeah, it's cool to see that making a comeback. And just like this guy was talking, Frederick MD here, Dr. Fred. He's in the heart of the pandemic. You didn't have anything but games, really. You couldn't really commune. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that's also a big part of it. Is I hate to keep relating back to the same thing because I'm sure people are like, if he fucking brings up polyamory one more time, I'm gonna stab him.
This guy and polyamory.
This fucking guy must love polyamory, but he fucking wants to marry and have 10,000 of his babies. Listen, about the time that we opened up, I was talking to people who I had known from the community, but I wasn't that way, and so I didn't talk to them about it. And now we were, and I was struggling a lot in the beginning. So I would reach out to them and be like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to really handle this. I don't, I have been a monogamous person for all my life, and now I'm this whole other thing, and I don't quite know how to handle it. And you've been doing this for X amount of years. Can you give me some guidance? And I remember the reason why I bring that up is I remember being told very specifically, like, yeah, a lot of us are just now coming out of the house. This was March. Okay. March in the year of our Lord, 2022. The pandemics, the lockdowns were 2020.
Right.
Like, people have been in their house, and according to this person, we're just like re-entering. I bring it up because she was saying they were just re-entering the community of other polyamory and swinger LGBTQI BDSM kink people. Like, all of those people were sequestered in their house, afraid they were going to die for 2 years.
Right. And
we're just this very moment, coming out of their house and starting to engage with other people. And, I think that there's, given to like the tactile nature of physical gameplay, as opposed to playing like video games, I think there's something about playing a board game that really does bring people together in a way that maybe video games don't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have definitely been part of like Mario Kart parties back when I was a kid.
Sure.
And there's something social about that as well. But
we're all in the same room. And
yeah. But I think when you have to sit around a table and face each other and talk and engage with each other, it's a different dynamic than everyone kind of facing the same direction, looking at a television.
I will agree.
And I think that lends itself to why board games are becoming popular, as you don't have to just relate this to the polyamory community, to be any community, as people are starting to venture outside their house again and crave social interaction beyond a screen.
Sure.
So Frederick MD goes on to say that the global board game market has an estimated value of 11 billion and 13.4 billion, and is projected to grow about 7 to 11% within the next 5 years, according to market research companies Technavio and iMark. Year-to-date board game sales last month compared to the same period in 2019 increased 28%, according to market research company MPT Group. Card games are up 29%, and strategic card games such as Pokemon and Magic the Gathering are up 208%. Let me stop there because one of the adults that I adopted and am currently raising and fostering is like an assistant manager of a Magic the Gathering shop.
Oh, okay. All right.
And they only reopened this year. Like, they were closed, but they were doing, like, I guess, online sales of decks.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, they were selling Magic decks. Like, I remember when Magic was a thing back in the year of our Lord 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And you only could get Magic cards at like comic book stores and like a Tiamo.
All right.
Next to like the baseball cards with the chewing gum.
Like, yeah, when I first saw Magic on the shelves at like Walmart, it blew my mind. It made me understand how big the game was getting. I was out of the game at that point.
An entire brick and mortar. There he is now. Here's the guy. That's the guy.
There he is.
This is the guy. This man slaves all day long, creating, building, artful, conquering.
Magic the Gathering decks.
This is what this loser does all day fucking long. Okay, some of us are like going to mines and like digging for coal to create electricity so that we can all live in this modern culture. And this fucking asshole builds card games like some kind of child, and he fucking makes money doing this. This is a full-time gig. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you standing there.
Yeah.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, you pay more than fucking some people that cook hamburgers all fucking day.
This is true. All right, touche.
He's got it.
I mean, like,
But like, dude, I'm kidding with him. But the thing that he has pointed out is how much money there is in just Magic the Gathering in itself. And let's talk about Pokemon for a second. This fucking megalith, these Pokemon cards have started again when I was in high school. I didn't fucking get it at all. This thing has taken over culture for generations. Because we're talking like my kids are into Pokemon. They're 8 and 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this shit started when I was 17.
I will, again, because of the pandemic, you could probably say that fed into the popularity of TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
My wife.
Yeah, every fucking person that was working from home or not was on TikTok.
My wife she'll go to bed and she will watch people open up packs of Pokemon cards.
You've told me about
that's all they fucking do all night long is open it up and talk about, I got me a Scrammyzor, whatever that is. I'm sure I grabbed that from
I got me a Slap-Zap. I got me a Schmegmacan.
Oh no, not a Schmegmacan.
No, not Schmegmacan.
Schmegmacant.
I got me a Miss Piggied.
Anyway, these cards are doing they're extremely popular nowadays. Oh, scissor me daddy ass. Gosh, I don't even watch that. And because I know you, I have learned that.
Ruining people's day one scissor at a time.
But yeah, man, the popularity of those cards, the Magic the Gathering cards. When Coop came over, it was at the end of October of 2021. I think he came over.
Did he leave when you asked him to, or did he also overstay his welcome there?
Coop ate a sandwich, hung out with me, and he left on time. All right, so
maybe you were more direct with him. Get the fuck out.
He was ready. He was ready to go home. He had a long trip ahead of him. But anyway, he came over. We were talking about these cards, and he had started playing. I think he'd been playing for a while, but it's something that it's very addictive and very fun if you can find the right people to hang out with and play. So yeah, getting back out there.
Huge. What's also huge, like Dungeons and Dragons. Like there's a movie coming out this year. Like it is filled. Like Dungeons and Dragons used to be one of those things that like MIT kids played, right? Like you had to be the nerdiest of nerdy kids. It was like MIT, junior engineers and dorks. That was it. Like, and the kind of dorks that would get thrown down a flight of stairs. Now, like D&D is embedded in the culture and pervasive and not really seen as necessarily dork culture. Like there are some like elitist, white girl snobs who were like, oh, maybe get him to do something else. It's like, no, like D&D is now accepted as popular culture.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It's part of the board game community.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's commonly looked at as one of the more original role-playing games ever, and I would say that there's definitely been, again, pop culture, Stranger Things helped that along.
Yeah.
And if people can sit around a table imagining things, imagine having a board in front of them, imagine having cards in front of them.
I'll tell you what, like if I had to argue the value of Dungeons and Dragons in the face of people who are not critical thinkers, Dungeons and Dragons is one of those exercises that really gets you to think in 4 dimensions. It gets you thinking outside of the box. I was like, my wife has never played, but I was trying to tell her what it's like to play Dungeons and Dragons. I was actually talking to one of her friends the other night about it. And I was like, it's not, there's an element of dice rolling and some degree of luck, I guess. But there is having to think through problems. You know, use your imagination, and there's a bit of theater involved. So like Dungeons and Dragons incorporates all of these higher level thinking skills that it's not easy to teach, and maybe we're not teaching at all in many ways. Because while video games, I think, help in different areas, the one thing they're not really helping with is your use of imagination.
Oh, yeah.
And imagination doesn't have to be a fantastical thing. It can be how to figure out how to solve complex problems, creating solutions to complex issues. That takes imagination. That takes, you know, 4-dimensional thinking, out of the box thinking. And that is not something we're teaching. Certainly not something we're really teaching at elementary schools that I can tell based on the stories my wife tells me. So the crowdfunding platform Kickstarter has made it easier than ever for unknown designers to release games. Over 3,000 new games are released each year, including expansion packs, according to the website and online forum Board Game Geek.
There are, of course, conventions. There's one around here called Gen Con, I think is what it's called. And all it is just people bringing their games, or, you know, promoters / creators, big companies bring their games so they can be played or looked at or bought at these conventions.
All right, kind of reading through this piece here. The industry now has more categories and themes, prettier boxes, and higher quality game pieces. In many cases, the rules are simpler, and there are more offerings that focus on cooperation rather than competition. These developments have opened the doors for a broader audience to embrace the hobby. There are also board game YouTube channels like Watch It Played that aim to make it easier for people to become gamers. I have heard people tell stories of playing like Settlers of Catan, where, you know, it takes 2 hours to explain the fucking rules of that thing.
You know, Ronnie is part of this industry. You know, he just mentioned that he's become a paid dungeon master. Like he is somebody that you can pay to run a campaign.
It was so funny to me that, like, I got one guy building card decks and another guy who's a professional dungeon master.
Welcome to the 21st century, I think.
Remember 100 years ago when we dug for coal, Jesse? Remember when that was a thing? Remember when people used to work on docks?
You reminded me 10 minutes ago.
Remember when we used to build shit in this country?
No,
now we're building card game decks. Such an old man.
That is, yeah.
Let's see. It's about finding people's interest and drawing them in that way, said Rodney Smith, who founded Watch It Played. I mean, if you want to play a game about making a quilt, there's a board game about making a quilt. There's really anything you can think of. Games started gaining popularity in the years leading up to the pandemic, said James Zahn, the editor-in-chief of trade publication Toy Book. Board game bars and cafes have been popping up around the country. This is true because even like not necessarily board game cafes or bars, but I've seen like boba tea places where there's like a stack of board games you can play, shit like that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Even as COVID sent people home, many still bought card and tabletop games. Sales surged, and the MPT data shows suggesting that many families who found themselves forced to spend time together look for ways to connect through games and puzzles. The trend continued once restrictions eased and people craved social interactions following the years of seclusion. MPT data shows major retailers are also embracing the hobby, broadening past the classic board games produced by major toy companies. Barnes & Nobles and Target now have the exact same kinds of games you would find in what used to be like a hobby niche kind of store. That's true. I'm in Barnes & Nobles all the time. More than Monopoly and Candyland. Blasting off into space, running a farm with your family, hunting down a werewolf, building a railroad, a Viking competing for a place of honor during Ragnarok. The themes and genres in the games industry are so vast and diverse that most people can find a point of entry. There is this uptick in people realizing that board games are so much more than Monopoly and Clue and Scrabble and Settlers of Catan, said Tom Brewster, and writer and presenter of Shut Up and Sit Down, a United Kingdom-based game review website. Yeah, it's just no shit, right? One of the best-selling games on Amazon this year was Wingspan, which is about bird watching. Okay. It has gorgeous components and there's a very soothing flow to it, Brewster said. And it's made people want to spend time doing these vast sort of games. While the classic games such as Uno, Guess Who, Trouble are still very popular. By the way, have you played fucking Flip Uno?
That sounds very familiar. No, I haven't.
So it's double-sided Uno, and there's one card where it makes you flip and you have to use the values on the opposite side of the card. It will fuck you all up, and you will
really
the person who did it.
Oh, wow. That
Like,
sounds fun.
Yeah, you start to get down to like the nitty gritty. You only got a few cards left. You're going to get Uno, and somebody flips, and you're like fucked. And because now you got to pick up like a whole deck full of cards.
Oh, wow.
This will end relationships. This fucking game.
We just played Uno before I came down here. I'm not kidding. And
Like straight Uno,
like I said,
Uno.
It's Uno.
Okay.
It's Uno.
Just regular good old fashioned Uno. Huh?
I'd just forward me the rules for queer Uno if you would, please, so I can figure out what I'm saying yes and no to.
It's Flip Uno is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, man, check out Flip Uno. Like, go get your wife to play and go on TikTok and find people playing Flip Uno. You'll see what I mean.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's both fun and annoying. Anyway, well, Uno, Guess Who, and Trouble are still very popular. Games like Wingspan fill a hole in the industry, which has been stale for decades. Lee said the Exploding Kittens creator said the void inspired him to create his own games at a time when the majority of new options were dense German strategy games with a book's worth of instructions.
Ooh.
Now there are more cooperative games like Just One, Unfathomable, and Codenames Duet. Recent years have also an increase in silly games such as Unstable Unicorns, which we also got for Christmas.
That's
Fake Artist Goes to New York. Go ahead.
I was going to say that Unstable Unicorns. I'm trying to click on your link. I can't do that. But anyway, I want to say that those were the makers. I'd have to look this up of Here to Slay because the dice that you roll, the one looks like a unicorn horn. So anyway, but go ahead. Mind the gap.
We get more data here because they're talking about like the creation of more games. It's a long article.
A large article.
Yeah, it's kind of going on forever. Okay. So I think that's really it though. But I thought that was interesting and worth talking about and sort of, think about where we are in the culture. But that's all I got, Jesse. We're down to the third and last segment. We don't have Jeff here or Rob here tonight because they forgot apparently. So it's just you.
I can't wait till they show up tomorrow and have their own show.
Yeah,
it'll be Rob.
Have fucking fun with that.
We're a day late. Okay, yeah. So I brought a little something. Like I said, I think this
is this a slideshow full of infected penises.
Only once per year. We are in a new year, but
you want to save it for like 2 weeks?
I gotta, I've got to get my whole folder filled up with infected penises so we can have an actual game. Okay, so here's what we're going to do.
Yes, sir.
All right. Megan, you mentioned Megan's coming out, right? January, right?
Tomorrow as we're recording this.
Oh, hey. Yeah, well then. What I thought we would do is have you ever done a tier list before? Ever seen a tier list done?
No.
Okay. It's not about crying.
I
it's about
was gonna say,
TIERs.
Giving people tears.
I'm sure you have. What we're going to do is we're going to do a tier list. I just grabbed 7 robotic villains, and you and I are going to put this on a tier list. So give me a second. I'm going to share my screen, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. You may have seen this before. I don't know. But here it comes. So the concept's pretty easy. You and I are going to talk about where we're going to put these robotic villains on this list. And it'd be easier if there were numbers here, but I'll kind of explain the letters. We have, let me know when you can, There it is. All right. So we have S, A, B, C, D. So we're going to kind of go S is going to be like, okay, yeah, for sure. That's like the best robotic villain ever out of these 7. I know there's way more, and I did not want to bog down the amount of people we had to go through. Plus I figured we'll do like a 5-10 minute segment here doing this, and we can always add to it later, whatever. But yeah, from highest to lowest, D is obviously going to be like bottom of the barrel, but I am going to say one requirement, and that is the top list, or excuse me, the top section, the S section, can only be occupied by one of these villains. So we'll go down through and we'll start with Ultron. So I say just to start with Ultron, we'll put him at the top. Now he can move. It's not like we're going to say that that's going to be like the villain. I'm going to grab Ultron. I'm going to put him up there. Do you think he's worthy of the top spot compared to the rest of these? Now we have Ed 209 from RoboCop. You remember Ed 209? All right.
I do.
Then we have, okay. Then we have Killbots, or the Chopping Mall bots. Do you remember the movie Chopping Mall at all? You probably never watched that. You and me, we've discussed horror movies. This was an 80s horror movie that had robots that were supposed to be a security enhancement to a mall, and it ended up killing a bunch of people.
Like you do.
Like you do. We then have the Sentinels from X-Men. Okay. Megatron from the Transformers. And then we have the T-1000 from Terminator, and the Sentinels again, but this time from the Matrix. So these are robotic villains. All right, I've got Ultron at the top. Next up would be Ed 209. Does he unseat Ultron?
No.
Okay, where do you want to put him at?
Towards the bottom.
Towards the bottom. So we could go with C. All right. What would you, if you were doing a parameter list as to how you're going to rank these, why don't you go ahead and tell us what your parameters would be?
I would say like the top should be the most destructive, the most murderous, the one that was the most successful. I can already tell you, like, of that list, it's got to be either Skynet or the Sentinels.
Okay.
The Sentinels were fairly successful in killing a lot of X-Men, especially depending on what future you're talking about. In one particular future, they killed almost all the X-Men. Skynet successfully eliminates humanity, down to a very small fighting force. And survives long enough to send fucking multiple Terminators throughout time. And just
now, here's the thing, though. That is not Skynet. That is the T-1000.
Oh. Ooh.
So, yeah. How does that affect things? Does that affect you?
It's gotta be the Matrix, then Sentinels. They gotta be at the top.
Okay, explain.
They killed humanity and kept them in fucking tanks.
Okay,
and put them in virtual reality. And even at the end of, not counting the fourth Matrix movie, which no one should watch, but the end of the Matrix trilogy proper, they won essentially. They basically they made a deal to continue their existence with Neo. And
That's
can't,
right.
They joined forces to eliminate Smith. Smith was kind of the common enemy. But the Sentinels still exist. That world still exists as it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the way that I would, my parameters for this would have to be, number one, the villainy of said robot, just like you said, murder. They commit murder. The amount of murder that happens, probably, their intentions, their motivations. So the reason why
let me ask you a question about Ultron.
Okay.
Are we talking about the length and breadth of his comic history or just in the movies?
Ultron, not strictly movies. This can be across comic history.
Then I would across near the top. No, Ultron was fairly successful.
Okay. All right. So you want to say Ultron stays at S. Sentinels. I mean, only one person. No, one robot. One evil villainous robot can be at the top.
Get Ultron and the Sentinels out of there. Leave the Matrix.
Okay. All right. So let me do this.
Yeah.
Megatron, though. Megatron.
Okay. So Megatron probably needs to be in the second or third spot.
Okay. All right. Would you say
get a Symphony of Destruction due to foul play?
Right. Right. Okay.
Such heroic nonsense, Jesse.
I love it. There's a couple things here. I agree. Okay. At the bottom, I'll leave Killbots there. I don't even think I watched the movie, but I've heard so much about Killbots.
I'm good with this list the way it is.
Yeah, the Killbots. Now, Ed 209, number one, his killing a rampage was just due to a programming error.
I
And that
mean-
was because of humans. Go ahead.
Yeah, but
I
like,
wouldn't say that's an error. That was more like, hey, he was designed to do that and just
he
did
killed
what
like
he
a
was told.
boardroom full of assholes. Who, like that was
gets a pass.
yeah,
Gets a pass. He tried to take down RoboCop
and failed.
and failed. All right,
Yeah,
I'll leave. I'm okay with him being at C. All right, moving up to the B tier. Right now we have Ultron, and we have the T-1000. Now I'm going to say that the T-1000, of course, I'm going to be biased for, because number one, it's a villain in one of the probably greatest sequels ever, Terminator 2.
Right, but I mean, like, how many people did he kill in that movie before he was gone and never came back?
He killed a few. He definitely killed quite a few people. I
killed
mean,
a foster
and
mom.
some killed a foster mom. He killed that one guy with the thing to the eye. I don't know if you remember that.
I'm a security guard. I'm not impressed.
But okay, I'm not going to put him up at S, but I am going to try and make an argument for him to be an
Fuck,
A.
you're not.
I'm
More
going
than
to make an
Megatron?
argument to be at A. I don't know. There'd be a pretty good battle between between Megatron and Terminator, or the T-1000 at A, in my opinion.
Okay, so
'Cause
now
Megatron's up on my list.
All right, now are we comparing these strictly on who would win in a fight?
No, I'm not doing that. What I'm doing is I'm looking at, well, I don't know. T-1000's got the coolness factor for me, man. He's got he's
You're
liquid metal.
You're not looking at this analytically. You're like,
He's
T-1000
liquid metal, dude.
T-1000 makes me sweaty in the shorts. That's not a coherent argument.
Liquid.
Are you a fucking girl? Like, the guy's got no
Now,
talent, but he's
There
cute,
didn't
so
we
he's a
this
good
did
singer?
not need to go down to insults like that, sir. Unbelievable.
Hey, I like, the guy has no singing talent. Yeah, but he's cute. The fuck does that have anything to do with anything?
He is awesome, dude. I mean, the way that he's able to kill people, the way that he's able to change shape, he was almost indestructible, except for the fact that he was tricked to fall into a boiling, and you never know.
Sorry,
he may still
your
be alive.
argument, when your argument boils down to he was tricked, we're done.
Okay. All right. We'll leave him at B. All right.
It's fine.
Then Ultron, is Ultron moving up to A?
Oh, here it is.
We can't
here's
have
where-
three.
here's
We
where
cannot
the
have three
tag-
at A.
Here's where I get tag teamed.
Welcome to the show, Robert Cooper. We are
Hang
doing
on.
tier list.
Kelsey, come here. Here's one of the adults I'm fostering.
Oh boy, hot dog.
All right, Jesse.
I am a hot dog. Thank you.
Jesse, explain
I can hear it's loud. Fuck.
explain to fucking Kelsey what we're doing
Okay.
here, because I want her to
All right.
take my side.
Oh, don't.
All right.
don't. What's gonna happen?
Don't do it. I'm doing a tier list. Coop, welcome to the show. You get to listen to this explanation too. Okay. So in celebration of Megan coming out, what I've decided to do is I listed 7 robotic villains, and we are doing a tier list. Top is one of the most villainous spots that you can have, and only one robotic villain can occupy that S spot.
Okay.
And then A through D are just other spots. Obviously, the less villainous you think they should be, the lower on the list they're going to go.
Heard.
So right now, Mark Radulich has the Sentinels from the Matrix at the top. And then the Sentinels from X-Men in second. Did she leave?
no, I'm
Okay.
here. I was just
All
looking
right.
at him aggressively, like, why?
Why are you making me suffer this?
No, it's not. It's that he's
Look at
wrong.
my background.
Thank you. Thank you. Then he has the Sentinels. We have Megatron up there in the A spot. We also have Ultron.
Mhm.
And then we have the T-1000 in the B spot. So we're going down. Ed 209 right below that from RoboCop. And then the Killbots from Chopping Mall are at the bottom of this list. Okay.
Okay, I agree with
So-
those last two.
All right. So where would you put T-1000 first? Would you say T-1000 is in the B spot?
I would say he's in
Where
the B
it's-
spot. Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay. All right. So less than Megatron. Coop, are you in agreement here?
I think Megatron is more evil, mainly because he's running the whole show, whereas the T-1000 I think is more of a pawn.
He a bitch though.
I I like that reasoning. That's kind of where I was going. And although I was a little bit more biased with the fact of how cool he looked, I was going to put him up in the A spot, but that's fine. I'll leave him at B because that makes a lot of sense. He's a pawn. He's a robot. He's being controlled by Skynet. And I told Mark earlier, I said, this is the T-1000. It's not Skynet. It's T-1000. So, all right, that's fine with me. Then we've got to figure out. We've got to figure out what's going to happen at the A spot because one of those guys has got to come out of there. It can't be two. It can't be more than two. I'm saying it right now. That's a parameter that's happening right here. We can't have more than two. So we have
the Sentinels from the X-Men killed a lot of X-Men.
I would say the Sentinels from the X-Men are absolutely in the right place there.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they're genocidal.
Are they?
Megatron
Let's-
just not killed as many people as fucking Ultron or the Sentinels.
Megatron committed mass genocide amongst all of his people just to get the Allspark. You really want to get into this? He is the worst of the worst.
He's
and-
not worse than the fucking Matrix.
Fight me.
I will.
The Sentinels, yeah, I was going to say there are arguments that can be had here about the Sentinels from the Matrix being unseated from that top spot. They're not locked in.
No.
I want to hear arguments. Let's hear. Okay, Sentinels first. Sentinels versus Sentinels. Who's worse?
Who gets them? I'd say the X-Men is worse.
Okay, all right, Coop.
I would say the Matrix ones are worse because the ones from the Matrix have more or less enslaved the entirety of mankind to, I don't know, fucking run their Energizer batteries.
Here's why
And
you're
Sentinels-
all wrong. At the end of every single one of these stories, everyone loses except the Matrix villains. They win in the end. In the end, they bargain to stay alive. They're still around. Mankind is still in pods. That's how the Matrix ends.
Okay,
They're the
All
number
right.
one.
okay. Well, that's Sentinels versus Sentinels. Let's talk Megatron versus Sentinels from the Matrix. They sound like there were some strong arguments about Megatron possibly getting that top seed.
Yeah.
With the Sentinels, do we also include the Master Mold?
And
Oh,
rather
Not on the list.
Galvatron. So many fucking Trons.
I don't know. Megatron to me wiping out his own race as much as he can and then coming for the humans, and we haven't even finished that story yet, unlike the Matrix. So I would say
You're very much focused on like the TV, on the movie Megatron. Like
Semantics.
in the comics, he became a whole other guy.
mm,
And there's very much still Transformers roaming around.
that's fair.
I
Good luck.
mean, she's out. She made her argument, and I think it was a fairly good argument, in my opinion. She did
Hey,
a good
Jesse's
job.
with you, just so you know. Kelsey.
Because
Jesse agrees with you.
as far as villainy goes, genocide is pretty, that's up there.
Genocide, can't you see? It's genocide in the first degree.
And that's not, and the thing is that, yeah, the villains won, but also the villains are keeping humans alive in the Matrix. I mean, they are all technically alive, right?
Yep.
They are actually having fun in their own imaginary universe.
Well, for their
Megatron can give a
game,
shit less. Oh, right. Coop, are you in bed right now?
Yeah, I didn't know we were doing a podcast. If you look, I was like, I thought the next.
I saw your message. I ignored it because I sent everyone the fucking dates for this twice.
I don't remember, so that's fine. But you know what?
Well,
It's
hey.
cool.
We
I've
appreciate
got-
you joining.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're talking about robots. We all know that the double S tier is Mark Zuckerberg.
Dude, he is one awesome robot.
He's a mighty vehicle. He's a GoBot.
He's a definite villain. All right, I mean Megatron. So we're going to keep Megatron at A. Coop,
Yeah,
you good with that? All right, and I know Mark is. Then we have Ultron versus the Matrix Sentinels. Ultron.
that's hard.
That is
That's
a
what
tough
she
one.
That's me.
That's flaccid.
That's more like it.
Okay. Let me try to reason this out. I mean, I honestly would keep Ultron, I don't think I'd put them above the Matrix Sentinels. That's just me. Ultron's been a pretty badass villain, especially for, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the comic book universe as well. His whole I don't know what his motivations are. Was it to just take over humanity or take over the world or end humanity? Mark?
See, I wish fucking Calandros was here. Because if you're talking about like what Megatron's major motivation was, in the conversations I had about him, we were talking,
Ultron. You said Megatron. Ultron.
Sorry, I thought we were talking Megatron.
No, we were talking Ultron, but you can go ahead with Megatron. Let's hear it.
Well, Calandros, his whole thing, when we were talking like the War of Cybertron Netflix series, was that there was a leadership, kind of like with Krypton and Superman or Jor-El. There was a leadership in charge of the planet. The rabble found the leadership to be illegitimate, and they revolted. And then within the revolt, there was a civil war, and there's where you had Optimus' side and Megatron's side. So I remember or understand it. And Megatron saw things one way, Optimus saw things another, and the two sides fought, and that's essentially what killed the planet. Was the civil war between Megatron's side and Optimus' side. And when they ran, like most things, when they ran out of fuel, they went to Earth to go. They left the planet to go looking for more Energon or whatever they could make into Energon, and they ended up crashing on Earth in the process. Right. And then depending on which iteration you're talking about, there was a point of mining whatever Earth essentially for more Energon to go back to Cyber. Like a major component of the cartoon, if you'll remember, was building the transport of the space bridge. And they were like, if you'll remember, like Spike and his dad were oil riggers. And they were, and the Decepticons kept like attacking the oil platforms out in the ocean because they needed the oil to convert to Energon and send the Energon back to Cybertron. That was the whole premise behind the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
As far as
about Ultron, I was going to say, tell me about Ultron. Like with his history, what is his motivation? Was it always to take out humanity, or
the same as Skynet? It was after being alive for a few seconds, he realized humanity sucks and needed to go.
Okay. All right. Out of those three, Mark is pretty well seated that the Matrix Sentinels are not going anywhere. Coop, are you in agreement?
I'm fine with it.
All right. Now you guys got to figure out real quick who's moving down to B out of those three.
Megatron.
Yeah,
Megatron is moving. Megatron is moving to B.
Yeah.
All right then. I mean, I don't know about all that. But I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to.
Jesse, you're a comic book nerd. Call Evan Bevins. In one possible future is the Age of Ultron, not the movie, the comic book series.
Right.
Where Ultron, how many times have there been comic book series where Ultron wins?
Yeah,
Even Kelsey agrees, and I have to parent her, a grown ass woman, but even she agrees with me.
Do you know if Pat Mullen was on here, the man would say the Sentinels would be an S.
If Pat Mullen was on here, if Pat Mullen was on here, he'd call somebody a cunt.
Yes, he would. Like that's in his contract, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
He would say the X-Men Sentinels would be at the top because dirty stinking muties.
Yeah.
But me personally,
there's no good mutie like a dead mutie.
That's Pat Mullen, ladies and gentlemen.
That's uncomfortable.
Sentinels. I would say the Sentinels.
Have you met that?
Touche.
My argument, I'm outnumbered 2-1 here, but my argument would be to move the Sentinels down to B just because they only target mutants. That's all that they are supposed to do anyway, although they could be programmed to do something different. But we're moving them down to B. No, we are moving Megatron down to B. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, our final tier maker list, our first ever tier maker list. Did you cry? I cried. Lots of tears were made. D, Killbots from Chopping Mall. C, Ed 209. In the B tier, we have T1000 along with Megatron. The A tier belongs to the Sentinels from X-Men and Ultron. Two Marvel related robotic villains here, right there in tier B. And then the top tier, the S tier, the Sentinels from the Matrix, folks. There it is. Whiskey Rebellion's tier maker list for robotic villains. Go watch Megan tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Not a sponsor, but go check it out.
So Cooper, I'm going to end the show by filling you in on what you missed in the first like 2/3 of the show. So my wife took this like she uses online like list thing to create a list of her BDSM limits.
Oh no.
I'm totally making Jesse do this. I'm totally making Jesse do this. And then we're going to talk about it on the show.
Like,
I
think
mean,
about this.
Are we doing it right now?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. Next time.
The last time we did something like that, it was an hour. So I'm done. We're done here. We did our show. But and we can't do it the next show because Andrew Graham's going to be on and we'll scare him away. But the show after that, I am totally dedicating to humiliating Jesse because those are our best shows.
Well, I mean, yeah, either that or your wife accidentally revealing information that she had no business and no idea she was revealing.
It says right there that we're fucking recording. Right there.
Yeah. Wait, you guys do this live? Yes, every single time.
It's not my fault she couldn't read a computer screen.
But you know what? It gave us a great moment.
I will tell you this. I think so. It was really funny to make Jesse take the BDSM quiz, but I think we should all do the BDSM. Yes, you do. But I think it would be really funny if we all did the BDSM limits thing and compared them and then went on a sexy date after.
Oh,
Maybe not the last part.
Ooh, get that Dutch rudder. Row, row, row your boat.
Can I tell you, because of you, I keep doing the Miss Piggy thing? Like, I'm going to totally Miss Piggy you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Jesse was telling us how much he likes fisting earlier.
Oh, no. Fist
I
a
went on
horse.
and on. Went on and on about it.
The first hour of the podcast.
Oh, yeah. He was a regular Jim Henson.
Jesse, how often do you bleach your asshole?
Enough.
Sounds painful.
I mean, I
Fucking
do it
acid.
enough. You don't want to overdo it, that's for sure. I mean, walk
I
away.
mean, can you really underdo it? Yeah.
I
I know
think what he's saying is like if you bleach your asshole too much, you'll like fucking eat away at the skin.
it's a sensitive
erode-
area.
You erode your asshole. Now
Oh, no.
now instead of a small straw sized tunnel, you have like a fucking oil pipeline.
Oh, no. You got the Exxon Valdez.
Nasty.
We were having a perfectly nice show until you showed up, Cooper.
Yeah, Coop.
I mean,
Coop,
I'm
and your
sorry.
pillow.
I actually have many of them, in fact. And Dave.
Are you getting
Right, Dave?
Dave.
Are you getting podcast head right now? Are you getting like a cortisone hand job while we're doing this?
Please do not ever let me know that that's happening when I'm on a podcast.
What the fuck's a
with you.
cortisone hand job?
So let's say you have chafing going on.
This
okay?
didn't need to be asked.
Okay.
It's not my
doesn't need
fault.
to-
He asked me what a cortisone hand job, and I am
I don't know what the
compelled.
fuck a cortisone hand job is. I'm doing a podcast with two grown men at like 11:30 at night. I do not get hand jobs.
That's
It
your
sounds
problem.
therapeutic. I mean,
Okay.
that's
Imagine you have chafing, but the chafing has gotten really, really bad, and we have like torn skin and exposed skin. We have welts here, raised bumps, that sort of thing. Imagine that's going on, and you need medicated cream in order to heal your private sensitive area. Okay, you might need a therapeutic, medically necessary cortisone because the cortisone cream will help you heal. Cortisone hand job.
so. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
Gotcha. You get a little Neosporin down there.
I mean, you really can use like the liquid of your choice, but it's important. Look, the secret to a cortisone hand job is that it has to be medically necessary.
Let's put that in the notes. Please, in the description.
Do I have to ask my doctor first?
No. Well, you mean I eventually had to go to a doctor and I got a powder.
the way
Put an end
That-
to the cortisone hand job deal, but it also made things heal a lot quicker. Yes, Jesse. Why?
I'm just sitting there thinking, like, you go to apply it and you're like, wait a second, this feels kind of good. And then, hence,
Can I tell
what you're
you,
talking
like,
about there?
the argument for medical necessity really gets tested. Like,
It's like, you don't need this. Now stop it.
I need just like a little dab will do you. I really think you need to rub it in
Yeah, please.
over and over again.
Every spot needs
so
to be covered.
chafed. You seem perplexed, Coop. Listen, go see Natalia. Hi, Natalia.
What I love about Coop is the fact that he's laying down, but he looks like he's upright.
He's like a fucking vampire bat.
I'm at like a solid 45. My head's at a 45 and my arm is at a 45, so it works.
It does, man.
When you snuggle at night, like, what's the angle? Because like lately we've been doing an acute triangle deal. Sometimes like you lay parallel, sometimes it's like more of like a spoon-esque situation. But like lately we've been doing more of like a diver's acute triangle deal.
I have a bad habit. What was that?
I said I sleep on the couch, but go ahead.
The past couple times I've slept at Natalia's place, I hurt her back because I'm like a trap door spider. Like apparently apparently like she's at the edge of the bed trying to stay away from me because I'm a giant heater. And then I just like I flip around, grab her, and then drag her into the center of the bed where there's no support because her bed frame sucks.
Are you guys like into like consensual, non-consensual? You just fucking grab her, throw her around the fucking room.
Throw her through the fucking third-story window. That'll teach her.
Listen, I'm not here to kink shame. Are we done now?
Yeah, I'm just happy I fixed my bed because we broke it, and I tried to fix it on Valentine's Day, and instead of doing adult stuff, I was trying to hand saw a table leg. That didn't work. It was more crooked than the police. So
at some point you realize bed frames are pretty unnecessary. As long as you've got a high enough box spring, you're good, man.
Yeah, I got a bunch of shit under the bed.
I recommend you get a high box.
Yeah, I got a ton of shit under my bed is the problem. And I have a really nice headboard.
Oh,
Do you know?
I do. It is pure wood.
We were having a perfectly nice podcast, by the way, and then you showed up and it got way sexual.
The third beard.
All right.
Clamato.
Got any stories, Cooper, about people sticking their dick in places they don't belong? If not, we're gonna get out of here.
I can't really say that I've had any. I mean, I did have a fun.
I was gonna say over the holidays, do you know anyone that stuck their dick in the eggnog?
I mean, my uncle did it by just piping in that vaccines are an eradication plan for the human race.
Oh, your family gatherings are fun.
And what did he give everybody in the family for Christmas? A MyPillow.
A cortisone hand job?
The same thing, a MyPillow.
COVID?
Oh, no. Sir, I would not compare a cortisone hand job to a MyPillow.
In what way?
I wouldn't.
Why? Because you can't get off to a MyPillow? Sounds like a challenge.
I mean, first of all, a cortisone hand job is very enjoyable, and MyPillow is not.
Yeah, I left it at my parents' house where the cats can sleep on it, but my mom's my mom was like, this thing smells. Like it smells like chemicals and it's really lumpy.
We lost Jesse. Jesse's like, I don't even want to be here anymore. All right. Jesse,
cortisone hand jobs. Give me a break.
I mean, if you're breaking that much, you might need one.
Whoa, that was awfully judgy, Chesty. Why are you judging?
We do not need to extend this any longer than it has gone.
You're the one that brought it back up again, sir.
Are you sure?
Extends it longer.
I mean, the problem is if we don't extend it enough, all the cortisone doesn't get into the fold.
All the right spots.
Why are you being judgy about this?
I am not being judgy, sir. I feel that we have discussed the cortisone hand job to death. Unless there's more.
I mean, you could also use Lotrimin.
Oh, thanks.
Ooh.
Now,
In case you got
yes,
Well, I mean,
please
if you have
list all the alternatives.
if you have like a fungal situation going on there, because fungus likes dark and wet, like we all do. You know, exactly. And so you might need some. You might need a Lotrimin hand job to deal with your fungal issues where things are dark and wet. What? This is medically this is a medical.
Or if it's bedtime and you got to brush teeth, get a toothpaste hand job. I don't know.
That seems gross.
I mean, they get a little bit of that fluoride down there. Maybe it'll be helpful. I don't know. I'm not a dentist.
Is that a very interesting Spider-Man comic, you dork?
Is this the one where Peter gets the fucking Lotrimin hand job from Mary Jane?
I can't escape it. How does it make it? It made its way back into an Eric Larson
You made his
Spider-Man
spider sense tingle.
Can we talk at length about the various ways, the various lubricants that exist at your local CVS that would help you with a hand job? Jesse, you first.
Oh yeah, let me please. Let me just go.
Speaking of CVS, they had a Marvel figure of the Sentry for $7, so I had to pick one up.
Yeah, you can find those for pretty cheap down there.
I had no idea. I thought they were all fucking $20. Oh, and speaking of Spider-Man and bodily fluids, hey, remember that time he killed Mary Jane with his radioactive spider spank?
And on that note, folks,
nice shirt, Mark.
Thank you. This has been the Whiskey Rebellion. Yesterday, we did our year in review show and spent 20 minutes talking about All Quiet on the Western Front. We re-aired our Joshua versus Ruiz 1 alternative commentary and Kanaki versus Areola. Hey, Jesse, I hear you did an unspoken issues about Superman versus Predator. Or Hunter Prey or something like that.
That was Superman Doomsday, the rematch. I mean, one of the biggest rematches ever.
Whatever.
Although I think Superman did take on Predator at some point, I believe. But anyway, yeah, hey, check it out. Unspoken Issues, 90s Comics podcasts. Me, Dean, Derry, we talked this was me. This was me, Evan, and Chris.
Hey, can you come here for a second? You, come here.
It's a great podcast, by the way. Please.
Kelsey, can you, I mean, not from personal experience, at least not at the moment, but can you speak to the joys and medical necessity of a cortisone hand job?
I knew it. I knew it was fucking coming. What do you think, Dave?
Thanks,
Tell me where you pissed from, Kelsey. Hey, we're going to spend a minute and Kelsey's going to show us where she pisses from. Show us where you pissed from.
I will not. I will not.
Appletini. Show me your weenie.
What an interesting home life.
Will you scissor me? Will you at least scissor me on camera?
Scissor me, daddy ass.
Come scissor me.
Everyone gets one. You got your one.
But this is for the camera. This is for the show.
Hey, Dave.
This is for the fans.
See, I get scissored on camera.
Fantastic.
This time, not by a child.
9-year-old. You fucking pedophile.
Hey, the FBI is listening to this. Anyway, next week.
Yeah.
So anyway, this week, this weekend, Everyone Loves a Bad Guy re-air for Evil Corporations. We have our David Bowie tribute. And then, hey, Damn You Hollywood is back in its normal Tuesday slot. We're going to be reviewing Megan. And then allegedly, my buddy Adrian Wagner is going to come on. And we're going to finally get to do Dope Sick after not being able to do it 2 weeks ago. And then Alexis and I are going to be reviewing Welcome to Chippendales on the 12th. And then in the evening...
Not the Rescue Rangers.
No. And then, yes, Coop. This week, a week from tonight, the 12th, at 10 o'clock, Metal Hammer of Doom Jukebox, episode 2, first one we've done since October, or November, whichever one it was, and we're going to look at the best metal albums of 2022.
Oh, hot dog. Sorry, my cat keeps trying to make an appearance.
Oh, my God, you and your stupid cat.
Dave.
Dave.
Jesse.
Scissor me, Daddy Dave.
Jesse, you want to show us where you pissed from, or you want to get out of here?
I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's rock and roll.
Well, I I'm a podcaster. That is Jesse Starcher. Down there is Robert Cooper, who's late to the party.
And
There
it's
he is.
really feeling naughty.
Yeah. This has been the Whiskey Rebellion. Be well, be safe, and have your wife or a significant other give you a cortisone hand job.